Friday night. We'll have the wrap up this 4-week series of every Friday in October. There's Miss Chanel Burt, who will be our special guest speaker next Friday. So get the word out. But today we're so excited. We have two dynamite women, visionaries of 220 and beyond. These ladies that have been on this call, I basically respect them highly. I've called each and every one of them deliberately to be, actually, excuse me, called them to be on this call because I just think the world of them. And, you know, for a woman to have a man to say, hey, listen, ladies, gentlemen, whoever, these women I really highly endorse and listen to them. This call tonight is going across every barrier there is. We don't care what religion you are, background, creed, color. We don't care about what business you're in because this is a generic call tonight. Just for I can say, women, I bow down to you. My hat goes off to you. And women should be recognized in 220 and beyond and always in life, as far as I'm concerned. And I may be the first male to do a call for all ladies, but I think that is appropriate because I have such a great deal of respect. And I want to thank you folks around the country there. I see people from Nashville on. I see people in Southern California on. I see people in Canada on. I see people are starting to jump on right now. Okay, Mr. Dalton just got qualified. Okay, great. So I want to say thank you all for coming on the call tonight. We're going to get started in a second here. And I just want to say thank you so much, you know, for those who have never had a woman. These are very powerful women tonight. They both are married to very powerful men. But also as another man, I have a great deal of respect for each of their husbands because each of their husbands are real men, a real man's man. And a lot of times men don't say that, but I've told Miss Driskill before at a friend of ours, Mr. Nelson's celebration, her husband, Tony, that I respected him as a man's man because it takes a real man to appreciate another man in a respectful way to see his wife be and let his wife do what she has to do to build their business and to come together as a team. And we don't see this a lot, or we don't know, we don't identify with that, or we don't see that type of woman. And a woman does not have to be passive. She could be strong in her own right, respectfully building her own business and being a wife, a mother, an entrepreneur. Miss Driskill also has an author of a book. She's going to hopefully put up here. I'm sure she has ready for that. And I just have so much respect for these women. And you know what? Real men do bow to a real woman. And we do respect real women. And I want to acknowledge this young lady who's going to be our first guest speaker tonight. She hails from the Monterey area. Her and her husband had a business before in her own right before they got married. She was a single mom out there in the world like a lot of single women are, but she was strong enough to carry on. Then she met another powerful man that she got married to named Tony. He's a dear friend. He's out, I think, this weekend hunting. But I'm going to tell you something. I have such a great deal of respect for this lady. She gives her all in all. She has a home-based business. She works from home. And I just want to give her the respect that's due tonight, ladies and gentlemen who are on the call tonight. I just want you guys to pay very close attention to her. Like I said, she lives in Monterey. She has some ups and downs, and she's going to expose a lot of that. But I just want her to take her time to peel the onion back. And if we have time enough for Q&A, you can send a message across the screen, and we're going to get to that later. But right now, I just want to have you guys welcome a dear lady who I have a great deal of respect from. Like I said, she's from Monterey Bay Area, Miss Jocelyn Driskill. Dear.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yay. Yeah, this tech kind of crazy. But isn't this awesome that we can just be from around the world and all together in one place at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time? It's just a blessing. And Mr. Thomas, you are a legend in business, and I am truly blessed and honored to be a part of this incredible call that you've put on. You're right, not many men do this, but there are a few of you out there. And you know what? Women in business is the wave of the future, and I am so grateful that you recognize us and what we're doing. And you know, we just come alongside. I can say for sure, for me, I have been able to stand on shoulders of giants like yourself and have the opportunity to do a lot of things because you do elevate our lives, and there's nothing better than men and women coming together in business. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And I know you want me to peel back that Jocelyn Driskill onion. So let me start with this. You know, my story is fairly simple, and I think there's many, many people out there that can relate to my story. Today, I live a very blessed life, but I look back as I was going through some of my pictures, because I know, you know, I could share some pictures with you about with my grandchildren and my husband and the lifestyle we have today. It's so much more than things. It's the time and freedom that we have today. But let me just backtrack a little bit for us, because my husband and I come from two separate worlds. Though I grew up in an industry that he was in when I met him. My parents were both architects, and I worked for my mom and dad for 10 years. And it's very clear to me that I was definitely seasoned for business with my dad. Very sharp. He was really raised me up in business and really ignited my entrepreneurial spirit, which then sent me into the hairdressing salon industry. And that was one of my passions. And I was a young mom. I don't know if there's anybody out there that had a child young, and I'm sure there's many of us. I was 19 when I had my daughter. Today she's 35, so many years have passed since then. But there are a lot of struggles in that journey. As a young mom, I had to work sometimes 2 jobs to keep a roof over our head. But my dad helped me ignite the dream of being a cosmetologist over 30 plus years ago. While I was working for him, I went to school so I could do that. In the process prior to that, my daughter's dad had a tragic passing, and he died. We were actually not married at the time, but we were still very close, and that was my daughter's dad. And today it's still a cold case. I write about it a little bit in my story in the book I'm going to talk about, that I'm going to share with all of you. But, you know, we all have life happen to us, and that's a fact. But, you know, it's a matter of whether we dig ourselves out of that hole and realize that we are created for so much more. See, I know my journey, and this is just my particular journey. I don't place this on anybody else, but God has really become the center of my life and why I can do all the things that I do today. I grew up in a Christian family in a Lutheran background. There was many times in my journey that I lost my way. And I also felt like I was not being fed. And I finally found a place when my husband and I got married to really ignite and really foster Christ being the center of our lives. But back to the journey of being a cosmetologist, I was very successful. I did very well, and I did very well putting a roof over, and more than that, with my daughter. But it took a price. It was a sacrifice. See, I have a lot of people who are, and I don't take this away from stay-at-home moms. That is a job in itself. And if you have 2, 3, 4 kids, sometimes more than that, staying at home is not easy. I had to work. That was not a choice of mine. It was something that I had to do. But I loved it. I had this entrepreneurial spirit building up in me. So if that is you out there, where you just have this yearning and aching that you want something to come alive in you, that you don't just want to be a mom. Not that I say it's just being a mom, because that's an incredible thing to be. I loved being my daughter's mom, but I had so many more dreams and visions inside of me that God kept talking to me about. And, you know, going into the cosmetology industry, I worked very hard. I loved what I do. So it's great that I was passionate about what I was doing. And I was very successful, booked a year in advance. How did I do that? I hit the pavement. I worked hard. I pushed through all the challenges and obstacles. There was a point in time where I owned my own salon, and I decided that I was going to let it go. That was probably one of the hardest decisions that I ever made, but I'm going to tell you why I did that. The traditional business, as you know it, eats you alive. The overhead, the liability, the risk. You know, I never wanted to work for anybody else. I wanted to work for myself. Why I launched a salon right out of cosmetology school. But when after 5 years of doing that and managing and all that is not why I got into the cosmetology industry. So as an independent contractor, I was able to just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to sell this salon. This is not what I want to do, with people telling me, are you sure that's really what you want to do? And I just knew it was, because my daughter needed me to be able to be at a softball game, to be able to coach even. See, so not only did I give up that salon, what I gained was I gained time back in my life, and I didn't lose income. I actually gained income by that choice. And that was because I listened to a voice inside of my heart and my head that has been guiding me all this way through my journey. But I go back into that hairdressing business, and as an independent contractor, I flourished. But in the process, I met my amazing husband, who is also an entrepreneur. We have similar backgrounds in family and the way we grew up. I can tell you it was love at first sight, but it was also a process that God put us through, because I knew him 10 years prior. And I won't go into all those details, but it was the right timing, because we put all the other things in our choices to the side, and we let the process of our uniting come together at the right time in the right place. So it was amazing. He's a general contractor. So as you all heard, I grew up in that industry. So nothing better, nothing more perfect than that. I understood that world. But he wanted to take his business to the next level. And I wanted to be a part of that, not only just flourishing my business, but I wanted to unite with him and help him live out his dream. And we did that. So not only did I continue to do hairdressing as an independent contractor, raise my daughter, be a softball coach, be all those things. I was also an office manager, interior and landscape design for a high-end residential home building company. And we took that business in real estate, and Mr. Al Thomas knows real estate very well. At that time, the economy was going straight up, and we were just flourishing. And we decided to put a lot of money in real estate at one time. And we had our 401ks and all those things growing over here for our retirement, all the financial planning we had done. We had about $12 million of homes on the market in 2008. Sigh. 2008 and 2009 and the economy, many of you know, was not a pretty picture. And it hit our company so hard. And I can laugh today. I have to smile through it. It was so painful to watch what my husband had dreamed of, what he had created, those beautiful homes, and even our own personal beautiful home. See, the fact is no matter how great you are at something, the economy will shift and it can take your business. And Tony and I just looked at each other and we just united. I can tell you through that whole process of losing everything. I don't mean everything. I mean everything except our God who has stood in the middle, and our marriage that became stronger, which only made us stronger through that. And that is truly what I can share with you as I have journeyed through business, as we have journeyed through life in wins and losses. That's business. It just is. There's cycles in business. So I can tell you, a new business project was planted in our lap in 2009, and it's 10 years later, and we couldn't be more thrilled and more excited. My husband is back and running his construction company. He has for the last 7 years. He didn't do anything for about the first 2 or 3, except launching this other business with myself, and taking it to the next level and doing what we do best, which is really being partners and uniting with people such as the individuals that are on this line here, that really just elevate us, whether they're in other businesses, just having those partnerships and those alignments and being fed by people who have done some great things in the business world. We're always being fed. We're better people today than we were when we were launching that construction company and raising all the things that had happened in that company and then losing it all. See, I know that was supposed to happen for what we have today, because it truly has brought us to a place of a blessed life. I've peeled back some of that onion of me. There's so much more that I could share in that way. And maybe you have some questions, but our lifestyle today is, my husband's been gone for 10 days. This is the second time in a month that he's gone for 10 days doing what he's passionate about in our home in Wyoming. We were able to keep our home in near Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Many of you know where that is. And that is, he shared a picture with me today that said, our happy place. It was a picture he took in a store of something that was sitting there, and it is totally his happy place. And I can't be so thankful and grateful for what God has placed in our life because of the choices we have made, the challenges we have gotten through. And really it all comes down to, in my life, is that I have centered my life around the Lord, and I start my day every day with him, and it just makes a whole lot of difference. Today, my daughter's 35. She followed in my footsteps. She's in business with me in our new business today, and she's also a hairdresser. She is an entrepreneur and a mother of 3. So that makes me a grandmother of 3, a 10-year-old Brooklyn, 4-year-old Parker, who went through a heart procedure 2 years ago before the age of 2. That was a tough moment in time, but God got us through, and his miracle happened. In 2015 or 2012, my dad had a tragic diagnosis of colon cancer, and we only had 4 months with him. But I can tell you, I live with no regret, because I could spend, because of our businesses, I could spend every waking moment with my dad, being by his side and not worrying about money coming in, because financial freedom and having something in the form of residual income in our life today has really changed our world. And then in 2015, Tony's dad had a stroke and didn't survive that. 6 months later, and passed away on my birthday. But you know what? Death and life and all that happens, and it's just the way we think and the way we set our heart, and how we focus on going forward instead of staying right there, because I know our dads would be so proud of what we're doing today. And then Parker had his heart procedure, and then my husband actually almost 5 hours from dying in 2016 in February. If you don't know what that can feel like, and some of you have lost spouses and significant others, and it's not easy. Some of you have lost children. I don't know how to even speak to that, but I can tell you that we're here for a reason and for a purpose, and Tony was meant to live his purpose. There's so much more he's gonna do. Standing by his side and watching miracle after miracle happen in that hospital room for 11 days was crazy. But you fast forward today, and we have these beautiful grandkids that we get to do a lot of things with, and I would love to share some pictures. Would you like to see some pictures? Mr. Al Thomas, do we have time to show some pictures? Are you there? I can't hear you.
Absolutely. Yeah? I was on mute.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Can you see that husband of mine?
Put it a little closer. Yes.
Let's see. Where's the camera?
There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
And the time we get to spend with my 81-year-old mother, this is in Wyoming, and when my husband was out there the last time, she loves him so much. It's amazing to have that type of relationship and the time that we get to have with my mom. This is us, wine tasting, because we love to wine taste. We have wine clubs in Napa and Paso Robles. We just take off and get in the car and go, let's go. So that's a picture of Tony with his dog and myself. Here he is enjoying Justin Winery in Paso Robles. Here's myself and my grandkids where we live in the ocean of Monterey. How fun to be able to go with them anywhere we want to. There we are enjoying. We always have people over. You'll see some pictures of the pizza oven and so forth. What's this one? Oh, I get to work out on the ocean. That's personal training out on the ocean. What an amazing thing that I am able to do today, and a venture into the vineyards. We have not traveled everywhere, but we will. There I am working out. There's my mother, my daughter, and myself. That's in our backyard, enjoying a party that we put on. Party inside. We had a professional photographer there at that party. There's my beautiful 10-year-old Brooklyn, my entrepreneur. She wants to be a baker. There she is. More of the grandkids. There's the little 2-year-old. Look at that iPad. They are amazing. There's them playing. My mother, adore her. There's Parker, Mr. Spider-Man. There they are in bed. We get to have them overnight all the time because we live near each other. I get to go to the pool anytime I want. I get to choose to go to swimming lessons with them. There's Brooklyn and Paisley. And at one of our events, I had my granddaughter, and she was up there sharing why she's excited to be an entrepreneur. So much fun. How about being able to pick up your granddaughter and say, surprise her and say, we're going to Disneyland today. It was the middle of the week. It was just her and I trip. We have a pizza oven in our backyard, and so we share it with everybody. So much fun. Look at those pizzas. I was able to be blessed by a Range Rover last year. My husband surprised me. So there I am, working in the car via Zoom, actually. There's our house in Wyoming where Tony is enjoying. And there we are enjoying with my mom. Look at that rainbow. That's why it's heaven on earth. Just beautiful. Tony going out and riding with the kids on quads, on the river. Look at that. Quad day. So much
amazing.
Fun. Just so much happening out there. Anyway, there's just a ton of stuff that we get to do. Look at the horses. That's my love. That's what I've done all my life since I was 12. Riding horses.
What a lifestyle. I love the lifestyle.
1,500. There's it when it's snowing. What you think about that?
Go back to the champagne and the ice.
Right? Right outside our door. That's how we fill the champagne.
It doesn't get no better than that.
Are you coming with us, Mr. Thomas?
My God, I like to go to Wyoming, do a little skiing and a little, I don't know about hunting, but I do some skiing, and probably have some champagne on ice like that. Yes, that's a wonderful.
Oh, we know how to treat our guests, and we have a incredible home, 3,000 square foot, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, a kitchen galore. We do a lot of cooking and barbecuing, and it's amazing. Every time of the year, it's amazing. So that's a little bit about my lifestyle. I have been blessed to.
Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yep, that's what I'm pulling up right now. Here it is. Empowering Women to Succeed. Again, as I was sharing with all of you that I have walked and stand on shoulders of champions, and it is because of the alignments that we have in business today that I actually was asked to be featured in this book. I get to be an author of about 11 to 12 authors. I share more of my story in there. I get raw and authentic and real, and anyone is welcome to pick up that book on Amazon. You can actually reach out to me, and I have personal copies, and it even has my picture on the back of me in Colombia finding my blue butterfly. And it's just a blessing that I have had this opportunity in the lives that it's impacting. And you know, you can actually follow me on Jocelyn.Driskill official on Instagram, Jocelyn Driskill on Facebook. We also have, you know, as I have talked about my forward lead with being a kingdom entrepreneur, that's what I call it. Mr. Thomas knows exactly what I mean. Ms. Perla Bernal also knows exactly what I mean. It is an incredible place to really be able to bring the kingdom back into the business world. That's what I'm all about. That's what I'm passionate about, is to be able to be organic out there with people and let them know this light and the love that we have to share. In business, we can be so much bigger and brighter and better than the traditional way of running businesses. We bring a whole different perspective, and I'm so grateful. We have a WhatsApp group called Kingdom Entrepreneur. So with all of that, I know there's an amazing woman you get to hear from too. So I don't want to take too much more time. I really appreciate that. And I'd love to chat with any of you. My email is jocelyn.Driscoll@comcast.net. Jocelyn, as it says on the screen, Driskill @comcast.net. So you can email me at any time, and I would be happy to answer any questions, connect with you, have a cup of coffee, even if it's cross country via Zoom. So thank you,
Well,
Mr.
dear,
Thomas.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, this woman has touched and inspired so many women that I know personally. And I just wanted to say what a beacon of fresh air and a light, and also a kingdom woman who's very, very well grounded in her spiritual beliefs in the Lord. And I tell you what, she's just amazing. And I just wanted to congratulate her, to tell her to keep on keeping on, because she is a lady to watch in 2020 as she is right now. So thank you, Miss Jocelyn Driskill. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are amazing. And what a trailblazer. Wow. I love the pictures.
We're going to Peru.
Yes, in November, I think, wait a minute, let me just be quiet, because every time I say something.
I know.
Listen, folks, we got another lady, a dynamite lady in our own right, just a powerhouse, just amazing, that we would just want to say thank you for her coming on. She got started in the business, her own business in her own right. She's an entrepreneur, married a dear friend of mine, and we've actually gone skiing up in Utah several years back, and there was about 8 or 9 of couples. We all went up there, brought my kids, they brought their, everybody brought kids, and we all had a blast up there. And each night we had a different cook going in the kitchen, but we had to share some quality time together in the mountains of Salt Lake City, Utah, skiing. And this young lady has always been just a special woman to me. Admired her from the distance, as well as been a friend. She's done some outstanding things, and I don't want to steal her thunder, but I have such a great deal of respect for her. She's always warm, smiling, open-hearted, just always caring for people. And she'd be the first one to give you a hug. I mean, when you meet her, she's always bright. You never see her down. She's always uplifting people, and she's a true champion in my book. And her husband married her because he saw her. She's, champion. So without further ado, we have a lady from she's actually, I don't know if she's on the West Coast. I think she's on the East Coast now, but I'll let her tell her story. And she had to jump out of a meeting so she'd get on this call for us on the Zoom call. We have the great Miss Melissa Street. Are you there, dear?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, first of all, you should tell the fact that I'm wearing a turtleneck means I'm not on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. Okay. It's cold here. I'm actually in Connecticut right now, but first and foremost, before I really go into my story, I just really have to give it back to you, sir. I have so much love and respect for you. And, we had such great memories actually, you went skiing. I stayed indoors because I don't ski, but just being able to spend that quality time with you and getting to know you on a personal level just meant everything to my husband and I. So thank you so much for asking me to be on this call. And, the woman that just spoke before me, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mrs. Driskill. She's been a beacon of light to me as well, a spiritual mentor to me as well, and just a phenomenal woman, just a woman of integrity, just a woman of vision. So she was, what a blessing it was that I got to share a call with her, because she's just someone I just respect as well. Again, my name is Melissa Street. I appreciate all the kind things that Mr. Al Thomas said about me. I'm honestly nobody special, but to be just totally transparent right now, this is not my living room. Let me just share with you guys. I am in a hotel right now. We just did my business and our business partners and we have a Friday night leadership class, a masterminding class. So I'm here at the Red Lion Hotel in Cromwell, Connecticut, and we just wrapped up right before this call started. So I just snuck away to somewhere quiet, but right next door, they're having a party. So I apologize if you hear some music. But when I was asked to speak on this call, I asked Mr. Thomas, what are some tips that you can give me? What do you want me to talk about? He said, just talk about your story, who you were before getting involved in a business, who you are now, who you are with your husband. So I'm just going to kind of share with you guys a little bit about who I am. And, we'll open it up later, with my contact information to ask questions. But so just a little bit of background on me. So I'm actually originally from Los Angeles, California. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles County. If you've heard of Pasadena, that's kind of the town that I'm from. And I had a background actually, let's say, how would I put this? I used to work as a frozen yogurt swirler. So I am officially probably the only person that is a professional froyo swirler. my mom had told me, you know, you're either going to go to school or you're going to get a really good job, but you're not going to stay home and do nothing. So at that time, I was swirling frozen yogurt. I was a manager at my friend's froyo shop. And another friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, Kent, had asked me, hey, you know, my friend's hiring at his insurance agency. Are you open to, you know, kind of getting your insurance license? And I was 18 years old. I had zero experience in insurance. I've never had a real job, like a professional job. I didn't have any professional clothes because it wasn't really required at a froyo shop. But I went for it. I took a leap of faith, and I went into the insurance industry at a really young age. And when I walked into that industry, number one, I was the youngest individual in that room. I had zero experience. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was completely scared out of my mind. But you know what? Life is all about taking chances. So at a young age, I got involved in the insurance industry, and it became a blessing in disguise because, like I said, I was scared, but you have to take chances. So they kind of threw me out on the field. So my first day on the job, I'll never forget it, but they put a phone book in front of me and said, you're required to make 300 cold calls today. That was the first day on the job. And that had to get me out of my comfort zone so bad. But then a week after that, they said, okay, great. We need you to go out on the field and actually meet business owners. Now, remember, I'm 18 years old. I've never had a real job before. And they put me out in downtown Los Angeles in the produce district, the meat district, the fashion district, just to go door to door to try to talk to business owners and to gain network and experience. But long story short, I started having success there. I really built myself as an individual, just having the high level conversations. And I did really well at a young age. You know, I'm really blessed. At 19 years old, I bought my dream car. At that time, it was a Mercedes black on black CLK drop top convertible. At 19 years old, having that car, I thought I was on the top of the world, and I was doing really well. And then one day, my friend called me up and she said, hey, do you look for other ways of making money? And actually, no, she didn't say that. Let me rewind. She actually invited me to a barbecue. And now at that point, I was a very social butterfly. So I went to this barbecue having no idea what I was walking into. And it turns out she actually tricked me because it turned out to be a business networking meeting. And I easily could have been upset. I easily could have said, wow, she just tricked me and bamboozled me into this like meeting. I was the youngest one in the group. I was 22 years old. At 22 years old, I had no idea what I had walked into. I didn't know one single person there other than my friend Tiffany. And then that same meeting, that networking event became two blessings in disguise. First of all, I changed my perspective. Instead of being upset at the situation, I was just like, what the heck? I'm already here, so I might as well have fun and see what this is all about. And there was a business presentation happening. And the two blessings in disguise that happened was, number one, I ended up getting involved in a business that ended up freeing me from the corporate world. So I'll share a little bit more about that in a second. But number two, I actually met my husband. So he was the presenter, and I'll share a little bit about him as well. So that was how I was introduced into the world of entrepreneurship. I was 22 years old, became a business owner of a home-based business, having, again, the same situation, 22 years old. I was the youngest one in the group, had no idea what I was doing, zero experience in it, but I was willing to try something new because they say, you know, you're either growing or you're dying. You're either ripening or you're rotting. And at that point in my life, I was very content. To be totally honest with you, I made great money in the insurance industry. I made more money than all of my friends, so I thought I was living large, and I wasn't being challenged. I kind of accepted mediocrity, and that was mainly because of the example that was around me. It was because of my surroundings that everyone at that point, you know, they lived the life that I wanted to live, so I had accepted being content. So when I was introduced into this business that I met my husband in, obviously he wasn't my husband yet. Here's kind of how my scenario looked. So I shared a little bit about my business background, but my family background, I am one of two children. My mom's name is Sandy. She's originally from the country of Malaysia in Southeast Asia. My father is Vietnamese, and we're also Chinese as well. And my parents divorced at a young age, so I was raised by a single mom since I was 3 years old. So my family's very small because it's just me, my mom, and my sister. My mom came to this country at 22 years old with $800 in her savings in her pocket, with one luggage and some tape cassettes of recipes from her mom when she came to the United States. That was all that she had, and she built herself up. And a long story short, without going to my family history, my family's very small. It's just me, my mom, and my sister. So when I talk about entrepreneurship and who I was before I met my husband, when I met my husband, not knowing that he was going to be my husband, I was actually going through a really, really dark phase of my life. I was going through a breakup that ended really bad. I was in a really dark place of my life. And I also had zero care in the world. All I really was focused on was, sure, I had a job, but I was focusing on having fun, partying, and the whole shebang. So when I met my husband, his name is Jeff, by the way, at this business presentation, number one, I wasn't looking for a significant other. That was the last thing on my mind. So when I took a look at the business that he was presenting, I got involved because I just needed something positive in my life. So when he introduced me to the business, he put me in a totally different perspective because I started hanging around people that I wouldn't normally hang around. I was hanging around professionals. I was hanging around people that had an even higher success level than what I was used to. So my circumstances started to change. I started to put myself in a better position, the circle of influence. So fast forward, let me try to think. I actually made notes too because I had so much going on with my leadership meeting. So let's see. So he led me into a new group, led me into a new perspective. And one of the books that he gave me, actually the first book he ever gave me, I really, really recommend you guys to pick up this book. It was called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. So The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews was the first book that Jeff had given me. Now, for the first time in probably 10 years, I actually read a book from page to page, beginning to end, and actually finished it. Now, it's a fictional book about non-fictional characters. It's about leadership, all walks of life. It was a great starter book for me as I got introduced into the world of personal growth. So I highly recommend that book. But that book totally changed my perspective on so many things. And that started to lead me into the path of personal growth and development. So I highly recommend that book. So like I said, I started building this business with Jeff. He was my mentor. We didn't start dating right off the bat. I was getting coached and learned from him. And then a few months later down the road, we started dating. Jeff and I started dating. And then as we continued to date, I 100% am going to be honest with you. I took complete advantage of the fact that I was dating a top executive in that company, meaning I was so afraid to go and do presentations or networking events. So I milked the fact that I was dating an executive. And the reason why I'm being honest with you about that was because I had an aha moment later on. So first off, I totally milked the fact that I was dating a top executive. So he was doing all my meetings, talking to people for me, going to networking events for me. But what I found was everyone around me, because I started surrounding myself around leaders, people of influence, they saw who I was before I knew who I was, meaning they saw the leader that I was. They saw that I was a great communicator. They saw that I had great communication with people. I'm naturally easy to talk to. Mr. Al Thomas says, I'm the first to give you a hug. I love hugs. So everyone around me saw that in me, except for me, because of the stories in my head. Meaning I kept telling myself, you're not worthy, you're not good enough. And it was just all these bogus stories that I made up of myself. So people around me believed in me sooner than I ever believed in myself. So they say, how do you learn how to fish? You just swim, you just got to push someone into the pool. So the way you learn how to swim is push someone in the pool. And here's what I mean by that. So there was a presentation that was happening that my then boyfriend, Jeff, was supposed to meet me at. And as I pulled up to this meeting, he calls me up and he says, "Hey, are you at the meeting?" I said, "Absolutely." He goes, "Great. Do you have all the documents? Do you have the paperwork, all the stuff that you need for the presentation?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Are you almost here?" He goes, "No, actually, I'm on the plane right now and I'm on the way to Boston. So you're up. I got to go and turn off my phone now. I'll call you when I land. Love you." Click. And I had a choice to make. One, my first choice was I wanted to get in my car and just drive away. I was so scared and I was so upset that he set me up like that. So I had a choice to make. Number one, either get in my car and drive off, or number two, just handle it like a champion, go in and do the presentation and cry about it later. So what do you think I did? I chose number two. I went in and I did this presentation and everything that could go wrong went wrong. Like, I mean, it was the worst thing that could have set up I could ever have for myself. But I still did it. And at the end of it, I couldn't wait to get out of there. I got in my car, I cried all the way home, and I was so pissed at Jeff that I honestly considered dumping him. I was so upset. But after I soaked it all in and I thought about what had just happened, I changed my perspective. Because at some point I knew I had to do that. It's just that you just got to learn how to swim by getting pushed into the pool. So, and needless to say, after that, I started doing presentations on my own, and I started building my confidence up. Some meetings were great, some meetings were terrible, but they were all a part of the story. And today I get to laugh about what Jeff did to me, 7 years ago. But fast forward today, I absolutely love doing presentations. I love my business. I love what I do for work. But so going back to this, so I started in this home-based business about 7 years ago. That was when I was introduced. I was 22 years old. And I started building it really part-time, spare time for the first 2 years. So while still having a full-time insurance agent career and having success in that still, I was also building a part-time business. Because I've heard many times before, don't put all your eggs in one basket, have multiple streams of income. Mrs. Jocelyn Driskill mentioned it earlier. She was in real estate. She had a hairdressing business. She had a construction business. So she had multiple streams of income. So as a woman, you should have multiple streams of income. So that was what happened. And then I was in a situation where I started having success in my part-time home-based business that I started having choices. And I also noticed that because of the personal growth and development that I had started working on me and investing in me and my mindset, I started noticing situation awareness of my environment in my corporate world. I was in a really, really negative work environment. I was always the positive one. It was always Debbie Downers around me and negative Nellies. And I just realized, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. God created me for more. God created me so I can be in the right place at the right time. And this is not the right place and the right time. I was in a really negative work environment. So I'm 29 years old today. I turned 30 on November 9th, which I'm so excited about. But so 3 days before my 24th birthday on November 6th, 3 days before my 24th birthday, I woke up one morning and I said, you know what? Yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. Because my part-time home-based residual income business had taken off, I now had choices. So 3 days before my birthday, I walked into my office that morning. I sat down with my boss and I said, hey, listen, I have an eye problem. He's like, what does that mean? I said, I just don't see myself working for you anymore. And I quit. And so 5 years ago, I freed myself from corporate America. I became a full-time self-employed business entrepreneur running a home-based business that is tailored towards residual income and passive income. So 5 years later, today, my husband and I, we do get to work from home together. We've been able to build a business empire together, but also individually. So he's somewhere up there in the room still with some of our leaders, meeting with them. I'm here with you guys, but we've been able to build something together. I love working with my husband. I know some of you guys, you probably don't work with your spouse. You probably don't want to work with your spouse. Matter of fact, I did a meeting earlier and some guy was like, do you actually like working with your husband? I said, I love it because we both have a common vision, a common focus, He has his strengths and weaknesses. I have my strengths and weaknesses, and we complement each other. Is it perfect every day? Absolutely not. Is it rainbows all the time? Absolutely not. But I do love working with my husband in our home-based business. And, you know, today we've been able to create a residual income, a passive income, which for those that aren't familiar, residual income is doing something one time and getting paid for over and over again. We've been able to build a residual income that's bigger than every living expense that we have. And I thank God for that, because remember how I told you I was bamboozled, I was tricked into my first presentation. I could have been upset and I could have left the meeting, but thank God, thank the Lord that I stuck around, I changed my perspective, and I listened to the information, because fast forward today, that same home-based business is what freed me from corporate world in a negative environment, gave me a residual income that's bigger than every living expense that I have, which then allows my husband and I, whom I met my husband in that secret meeting, it gives us the quality of life. It gives us the freedom of doing what we want to do. I know that sounds super cliche. Sometimes you hear people say, you know, do what I want to do with who I want to do. But when you get a taste of residual income, you'll know exactly what I mean. We get to travel the world together. We get to do meetings together, which is a lot of fun. Been able to have that quality of life. And let me see if I missed anything. So fast forward, let's see. So I'm 29 years old. I'm not only that, but like I mentioned, personal growth was huge. So I'm super proud. I am so proud of the woman that I am today. If you asked me that 7 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. I would never want anyone to follow me anywhere I was going, because 7 years ago, I was in a really, really, really dark, negative place. But thank God for people like Mr. Thomas, Mrs. Jocelyn Driskill, my husband, Jeff Street, mentors, leaders around me that kept pouring into me. You know, see, we have a responsibility, you and I, to empower others. Not just women. I know that this is a women visionary leadership call, but we have a responsibility to empower other people, because it might not look perfect right now, but what if 1 year from now, someone came back to you and said, thank you for pouring into me because of the drastic change. So I thank God that 7 years ago, someone poured into me, took the time to believe in me at a point that I didn't believe in myself. So let's see. I just want to make sure I am not forgetting anything. And I know, Mr. Thomas, you're probably going to ask me questions. Oh, I think you wanted me to share a little bit about my husband and I, and a little bit of our lifestyle. So if it's okay, do you want me to share screen? Give me a thumbs up if I can share screen. Okay, cool. So let me share with you guys a little bit. I don't know, I mean, Jocelyn is gonna make me look terrible because she did a full-on project. Her photos were awesome. And I just threw together a quick little slideshow. So let me, oh wait, this will stop others. Okay, yes, let me do that. I'm gonna do a quick slideshow just so you guys can kind of see a little bit about my family, my reality today. So real quick, this is my family. That's my mom. That's right next to me. This was actually our wedding day. We'll share, we can share about this another time, but my husband and I, we actually surprised everyone at our engagement party that we were getting married. So we had a surprise wedding where absolutely no one in our family knew we were getting married that particular day. So that's my husband right there with the black tie, gray suit, Mr. Jeff Street, and his mom next to him. My father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my mom, Sandy, my sister, Macy, and her husband, Isaac. So here is a photo of my husband and I just absolutely love and adore this man. He has just poured so much into me as a human being, not just his wife, not just his partner, but as a human being, and he's just the leader's leader, so Mr. Jeff Street. So remember how I shared about how I was so afraid to talk in front of people at a presentation, and my husband set me up at that presentation? So fast forward today, what I once was scared to talk in front of a handful, like a couple of people at most, today, my husband and I get to train on stage on national convention levels. So this was the SAP Arena in San Jose, California, in front of about 16,000 people. So I was afraid to do a presentation for 5, and now I do it in front of tens of thousands. So being able to work with my husband is just so much fun. We have so much fun doing this. You know, this is us traveling the world. We spoke in Bogota, Colombia, at a company launch. Again, that's our translator in the middle. I didn't even speak the language, but they translated for me, but we got to train on stage in front of people. This is me at the Charlotte Bobcats Arena. Again, I was afraid to talk in front of 5 people, and here I am in front of, 10,000 people at the Bobcats Arena. I mentioned about how we love to travel. So this is my husband feeding an elephant in Bali, Indonesia. I have a ton of travel pictures, and I post a lot too on my social media, so you can definitely kind of scoop there. But this is just one of my favorite pictures because this was his first time in Asia. I try to go back to Asia at least once a year, if not every other year at the least. But we love traveling. We love being able to explore the world together, see God's beautiful creations everywhere, and have that quality of life. So we went here a couple years ago. I learned how to surf in Hawaii. Other big piece of why we have the success we have as a couple, a married couple, as a business partner couple, is there's a personal growth development course. And I don't know if it's okay for me to share this, but it's called Landmark Forum. And through Landmark Forum, I learned about breakthroughs and some of the fears and the stories that I had in my head that was stopping me from a life of possibilities. So I had a fear of open water. And after I took the Landmark Forum, my husband, whom was my boyfriend then, it was my birthday gift that he gave me. The first year we were dating, he bought me a personal growth development class. I was like, what kind of birthday gift is this? But he sent me to the Landmark Forum, in which allowed me to break the fear of open water. So he took me to Hawaii 3 weeks later, and I learned how to surf in Oahu. This is us at the Super Bowl 2 years ago. We are diehard Patriots fans. And nothing else, okay? I don't want to hear nothing about this, Mr. Thomas, but we're diehard Patriots fans. And my husband's been to a few Super Bowls, but the first football game he's ever taken me to was the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Now, unfortunately, we were playing with the Eagles, and unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to, but it was still an amazing experience. Matter of fact, it was actually 24 hours before the game. That night, he looked over to me and he said, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Do you have any meetings or any events to attend? I said, no, why? He goes, great, I'm taking you to the Super Bowl. So it was actually 24 hours before the Super Bowl that he surprised me with tickets, bought 2 plane tickets right then and there, and flew me across country to Minnesota to experience my first ever NFL football game, and it was the Super Bowl. It was an amazing experience. I'm telling you, residual income gives you that quality of life. I am a fur mom. I don't have children. My husband and I don't want to hear it. Don't send me messages about when are you going to have kids. We don't know. If it's God's will, we'll have the baby tomorrow, but we're not planning quite yet. So right now I am a fur mom to Layla, as she is my world. I don't know what it's like to have a human child, but she's probably the closest thing to it, because I kid you not, I sound crazy and I look crazy, but I designed my entire day around Layla. Making sure that she's fed, played with, catered to. She takes more walks than anyone in our entire neighborhood. But this is my baby Layla, and she's 7 years old. Okay, so before I go into this, so I mentioned about being able to start an entrepreneur business, a home-based business that allows us to have passive residual income. So when you start getting a taste of that, you'll realize the power of it. So what I started 7 years ago, I had no idea how big of a blessing it was going to be for me. So I told you about how I shared with you about how small my family is. So it's just my mom and my sister. And when my sister got pregnant a few years ago, now I'm living in Connecticut here in New Haven, and my family is still in Los Angeles. So my sister sends me a message and says, there's a package at your door. And basically in the package, while on FaceTime, she told me that I was going to be an auntie. And she says, now when it comes to delivery time, can you please be there when I am delivering my baby? I want you in the room with me. Now, I didn't know if I should be scared or excited, but I was honored that she asked me to be in the delivery room. Now, fast forward to April 10th of last year, or maybe 2 years ago now at this point. April 10th, I can't remember. But anyway, it was April 10th, 2 years ago. My sister calls me up at 2 o'clock in the morning and says, my water broke. Can you please come and fly to California? And that was 2 a.m. By 6 a.m., I was at the airport in TF Green Airport in Providence, Rhode Island, and was on the first flight out to Los Angeles, California. The beautiful thing about being self-employed, and not just self-employed, because there's a lot of self-employed individuals that have a traditional business that they have to physically be there, but being self-employed that have a residual income, I didn't have to ask for time off. I didn't have to ask for vacation time. I didn't have to ask for permission to leave. I just got on the first plane out and I flew across country. And long story short, my sister was in labor. I prayed the whole flight. Please, Lord, keep this baby in until I get there, Lord. Just hold this baby in. Well, the Lord answered my prayers because the baby stayed in there for 48 hours. My sister, God bless her, was in labor for 48 hours. But you know what? The whole time, I was right there next to her by her side. I was focusing on her, being her sister, being her support system. Her husband was there too, but just being solely focused on supporting my sister at the time that she needed me the most, right? I didn't have to think about work. I didn't have to think about business. I didn't have to think about anyone else. So fast forward, I was able to witness the birth of my niece, Miss Annabelle Macy Chavez. And then this is her. She just, this was her first birthday card last year. And so she's the cutest thing ever. And then that's a little bit about my story, but you know, let me just stop share this screen really quick. But I hope that in light of everything I said, there was something in there that was inspirational, something in there that maybe sparked an interest for you and start believing yourself. I want to end with a couple of notes. Number one is 3 tips on what I would encourage you to do if you haven't already started implementing it into how can you start a business? How do you have success in that? How do you build and develop yourself with women empowerment or leadership skills and so forth? Number 1, find a mentor. Find a mentor, male or female, find a mentor. If you don't have someone that's around you just yet, go online and start plugging into personal growth and following successful individuals. You know, social media is awesome. You get to literally, it's like you live in someone's social media by following some people. Number 2, work on personal growth. What you feed your mind will manifest. What you put in here will come out through here. So what are the positive information that you're reading? What are you listening to? My car is literally a university on wheels. But don't just work on personal growth, work on spiritual growth too. You know, because God is in the center of everything we do. So work on spiritual growth and personal growth, right? 2 books that I would recommend for personal growth is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the second book is 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Those are 2 of my favorite books. On a non-personal growth book, because sometimes you just got to feed yourself with positive information that doesn't necessarily have to be personal growth. I accidentally picked up a book that I thought was about personal growth and was a complete opposite of it, but it was by Melinda Gates, the wife of Bill Gates, whom that is a phenomenal, powerful woman. It's called The Moment of Lift. The Moment of Lift. And in the book, she basically says in the short words, when you lift women up, you lift everyone up. It all starts with women. And my last tip is plan your day because your time is precious. So every night before I go to bed, I plan my day. I have my planner right here in front of me. I just got a new one. This one, 2020, your best year yet, right? We're talking about vision. We're talking about 2020 being the year of vision, right? So plan your day. Go to bed every night knowing exactly what you need to do, who you need to talk to, structure yourself because your time is precious. That's one asset you cannot buy back or gain more of. We all have the same 24 hours a day. What you do with it is entirely up to you. How productive you want to be with it is entirely up to you. So I think I shared a little bit too much, but I hope it was powerful. And again, Mr. Thomas, I just appreciate you allowing me to be on this call with the Women Visionary Leaders for 2020 and beyond. I'm so thankful for this, and I appreciate you for organizing this. So I'll turn the call back to you, Mr. Thomas.
Well, thank you so much. You know, I'm in these texts and I see your handsome, husband, my dear buddy, Jeff Street just joined the call to listen in and say how amazing he's amazing and he loves you very much. So we thank you for jumping on. So why don't we do this for a few minutes? If anybody has any questions for these ladies, I see these things are popping up. Phenomenal. Thank you, Ms. Clark, for how phenomenal that is. If anybody out there have a question for these 2 powerful powerhouse ladies, I mean, we got Miss Jocelyn Driskill, who's down in Southern California there on the beach. And then you got on the East Coast, Miss Melissa Streets on the East Coast there. And we're coast to coast tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So you got any questions you want to, hold on, what was that? Oh, hey, Layla, what you say? Cowboys. Oh, she said Cowboys. Okay, I'm sorry. No Patriots, no Green Bay. But anyway, if anybody has a question for these ladies, please feel free to comment. I'll ask them to raise their hand if they have a question. so we could take you off mute and address these beautiful ladies. If anybody has a question, just raise your hand. We'll take you off mute and you can address the question to these ladies tonight. Oh, Miss Anna just asked from Phoenix, Arizona, name the books again, please, Miss Street.
Yes, so the first book I talked about was The Traveler's Gift by Anne Andrews. The second book was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Third book was 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And the fourth book is The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates.
Wonderful, wonderful. Also, give your emails so people that want to email you, they want to find out a little bit what you're doing. Can you give your email address out twice, please? Yeah,
absolutely. So my email is street, like my last name, street.acn@gmail.com, street.acn@gmail.com. My Instagram is Melissa Street _. I use my Instagram a lot, so if you want, you'll probably get a faster response on that because I get a lot of emails. But Melissa Street _ is my Instagram account. And you can find me on Facebook too, just Melissa Street. And then I see a question here that says, what are your morning routines? I think that that's applied to me, so I'll respond to that. Great question. And it was something that my husband actually taught me. When we wake up in the morning, the first thing that we do is we actually grab our Bibles and we each spend time with the Lord, having that quiet time, personal time to just be in the moment. And just thanking God for waking us up every morning. So number one is we wake up and we spend some time reading a chapter a day at minimum from the Bible. And number two, also reading a chapter a day of personal growth. So those are two things I have to start my day with before I make one business phone call.
Wow. Miss Jocelyn, Driskill, will you give your what you do in the morning, please, dear?
Yes, yes. Mrs. Street, you are powerful. You make my heart smile. Yes, it's very similar. So wonders never cease. Why people are successful. I start with, well, right now, actually, we're going through the 31 chapters in Proverbs, and we're doing it at 5 a.m. every morning with one of our mentors, Mr. Byron Nelson. It's incredible. And so I have been doing that every single day. But if it's not that, I am obviously in the Word and doing something spiritually to get my day going. I can tell you everybody has 24 hours in a day. And when you start it right, the 24 hours, people always say, how do you get all that done in 24 hours? It's because of how I started it. So that is the key piece, I would say, for sure. And then, of course, personal growth. I do some of that. We lead many WhatsApp groups, so I'm always sharing, looking for new stuff to really pour into other people. Super important that we're not just pouring into ourselves, we're pouring into other people as a leader. And I know Mrs. Street and Mr. Jeff Street are incredible at that. So those are the things that we do to start our day. And then we start diving into our business and working it. So we start early and we go late. This is what we do.
That's
and then
awesome.
We go play fun. Lots of fun.
Well, you know, you both showed some tremendous lifestyles from your cabin up there in Idaho to Hawaii and the lifestyle that you can live in your businesses that you ladies have built. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know, I 5 o'clock, I'm a 4 o'clock, and I do a book of Proverbs every morning. I'm a 4 o'clock person. So it's great because you get a lot done. So that's a big tip, ladies and gentlemen. And they gave you nothing but nuggets tonight, and we want to thank them. And if there's one more question or two that we can answer real quickly, we'll take that on. But I just want to say thank you both for taking time out because we planned this. It was on my heart just to hear from women who are powerhouses and to respect them, and very much so respected about who you ladies are and what you've done in your own right. And also, ladies, let you know you can be a strong woman with a strong man. You don't lose your identity at all. And I know that's a big thing for women, thinking they lose their identity. Their husbands overpower with their name and what they've done. No, ladies, by right, you have done a great job. And as a man, I respect the strong women and ladies who can stand on their own and as well understand her place and her job as a woman to be able to be strong and continue building and be an inspiration. So tonight, I hope this call inspired some of you. And I'm seeing by the texts and what's coming through here that you have been touched by this call tonight. And I just want to say thank all of you that are on this call tonight. Don't take this call lightly. These are ladies that are super busy. They're on both different parts of the, one's on the West Coast, one's on the East Coast. And I tell you what, I just want to say thank you for all of your times, ladies, that are on the call and men. But I also want to thank you for all, and really get a hold of these ladies, ask them questions, and find out what they're doing if you don't have a business that can make you residual income. We got one more call this month, next Friday, same bat time, same bat channel with another powerhouse. But tonight has been just a great call. I've loved all the pictures. I love to see everybody's lifestyle. Now think about it. These ladies have that lifestyle that most of us want to live, and you can live it. So get a hold of them. Get your questions answered. Get involved. So amazing women in leadership. Thank you so much, Mr. Jackie. So I want to thank you all tonight to be on the call tonight. Ladies, you have anything you want to say in closing before we close the call off? We'll start off with Ms. Jocelyn, and then we'll end up with Ms. Street. Anything else in closing?
Only thing I can say is truly appreciate and having this grateful heart for all that you do, Mr. Thomas. We are so grateful for your leadership and you leading the way over all these years. And having that alignment with you just continues to elevate our life. So thank you so much.
Thank you, dear. And you know what? We got the kingdom blessing from our church starting that. And I'm like to see that you're taking it and running with it. Thank you so much. And Miss Melissa Street, last time we had some fun together was this May over in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was absolutely fun. So thank you again. I couldn't agree with Jocelyn more. It's just, I pray over you that you have this vision to empower women as well. At your level, you didn't have to you didn't have to do this, but you did it because of your love in people and wanting to serve. So just thank you so much for asking us to be on this call. So have a great night.
You're very welcome. Absolutely. And everybody, if you looked on the screen, you'll see next week's wrap. We have a wrap with Ms. Chanel Burt, will be our final speaker for these women. Very, very powerful. And then I've got a surprise. I don't know if we should show this tonight, Mr. Bree Clemens, or not, but it's been on my heart, and I'm going to show you something that's coming up next month. It's going to be a global, international global from different countries, from Australia, we also got Canada, Japan, we got England, and I'm doing also from Colombia and United States. I've got some men that I just want to close the year out with November, some dear, powerful men that I have a lot of respect for every Friday in November. So get ready, and it's going to be in different time zones because this is going to be a global call. This is it's called Local to Global, and I think it's going to be a blessing for men and women. So thank you all for tonight. God bless you all. We'll see you back next Friday night. Thank you all. Good night.